Welcome back, dear crime lovers. This is a new episode of the history of the American Mafia, brought to you for podcasts by Fabio Fabiano and translated and read by me, Grace Carlisi. Enjoy this new episode. Michael Fiaschetti, the number 2 of the Italian team. During the production of these podcasts, we have dedicated a lot of space to those who have fought against the most powerful criminal association in the world. For example, New York Police Lieutenant Joe Petrosino and the investigator Francis Dimaio. In this episode, I'm about to reveal yet another valorous member of the police force whose value, resolved cases, and great work needs to be remembered. Unjustly known as the number 2 of the Italian squad for having inherited the command of the Italian team after the heinous murder of his boss, Joe Petrosino. Let's start with some biographical information about Fiaschetti, or Mike as his friends and colleagues called him. He originally came from Merolo, in the province of Frosinone, a small town about 50 miles east of Rome, and had arrived in the United States around 1895, where he lived with his family in Massachusetts, North Adams. His father was a band director, and Mike's fate seemed would have been in music, but one event changed his direction in life. In 1900, at the age of 14, he gave information to the authorities about an Italian fugitive, and for this he collected a reward of $500. From that moment, his true aspiration in life became clear. He wanted to be a detective. At the age of 16, his family moved to New York. 2 years later, he began working as an informant for Joseph Petrosino. In 1908, he joined the New York Police Department and began patrolling the Brooklyn neighborhood. In 1905, when Petrosino was put in charge of the Italian squad, made up of 5 Italian policemen, he was called to be part of it. Michael Fiaschetti worked closely with Lieutenant Joseph Petrosino. He was trained to hunt down members of the Black Hand. Petrosino discovered the detective's instinct in the young Mike and passed on to him the secrets of undercover actions, psychological tricks, and the application of third-degree interrogation. In 1907, in a short time, Fiaschetti became husband, father, and a widow. After the loss of his young wife, Fiaschetti fell into depression. In those difficult moments, Petrosino was at his side. The two shared not only their passion for their jobs, but the love for music too. His faithful colleague convinced him to devote himself entirely to his profession and overcome the pain and the emptiness created in his life. In March 1909, Petrosino was killed in Palermo. Michael Fiaschetti, his deputy, took over and headed the Italian team in New York until it was eventually shut down. In addition to fighting the mafia, the Italian team dealt with an anti-sabotage, that is, they were the first bomb squad in America with the task of defusing the bombs placed to extort the Italian shopkeepers. Fiaschetti was a tough-skinned detective. He usually cursed from the corners of his mouth, smoking a cigar between his lips. He usually wore a light coat and carried an automatic pistol in his pockets to fight offenders of all kinds. In short, Fiaschetti was a tough guy. The new commander of the Italian squad followed a different modus operandi from that of Petrosino, who traditionally had been linked to undercover activities. Fiaschetti, on the other hand, relied on openings in the mafia's wall of silence that didn't take long to form, as sure as eggs is eggs, especially if, in exchange, an offer to receive benefits that would ease an otherwise extreme prison regime were promised. However, Fiaschetti's old-school methods, consisting in brutal interrogations and tough manners, and the lack of diplomacy with political leaders led to the closure of the Italian team by the New York Police Department in 1922. Just to give you an example, once during an interrogation, Fiaschetti ordered a New York politician and lawyer to leave the Italian offices. The official reason for the closure of the Italian branch was that having a special squad only for the Italians appeared to be an insult to them, considering that there were no similar Irish or Jewish teams. In reality, as demonstrated by the enormous participation of the people at Petrosino's funeral, however, the Italian team was a source of pride for the Italian immigrants and a social glue to their sense of belonging to their adopted country. After the closure of this mythical police squad, Fiaschetti was integrated into homicide section of the district attorney. 2 years after his new post, Fiaschetti took leave from the police with various honours. Once he left, he married his second wife, Jean Melillo, and started Fiaschetti's International Detective Bureau based in Broadway. Fiaschetti, after his discharge, recounted his experience as a policeman in some books in English and his memoirs published in Italian in the Corriere d'America, which Italian Americans read with pride. The man from whom they could not escape recounts his experiences of fighting crime with the Italian team. The book describes the previous skills learned by Fiaschetti, taught to him by Petrosino, and how he used them when he became the commander of the squad after the Sicilian mobsters had murdered the famous Italian-American policeman. Fiaschetti in his works immediately set the record straight. After arresting over 1,000 criminals and sending 12 multiple murderers to the electric chair, even though he opposed the death penalty, he warned that Sherlock Holmes, with his magnifying glass and his investigative methods, was totally unreal. Fiaschetti clearly wrote that crimes are all committed for money or women, and to the sound of gunshots or knives, and added with a shrewd joke, "This is the only elementary thing in an investigation, Dr. Watson." He blamed the figure of Holmes, who claimed to be similar to a bizarre calculating machine which proceeds by strokes of unrealistic deductions. Investigative activity instead, he wrote, is a patient work of a spider and a hound, and it smells just like the rest of the animal kingdom. He recounted how he made use of informants to unravel very intricate schemes. Confidants are usually human wrecks, landlords, doormen, waiters, and above all, petty offenders, but also women who had been betrayed by their men, criminal labourers dissatisfied with the treatments they received by gangs, gamblers, smugglers, and brothel keepers, interested in the tranquility of the neighbourhood. The whistleblowers tie strong bonds with the detective, eternally grateful after the policeman turns a blind eye to one or more small crimes of theirs. An omission that allows, however, to discover major crimes. Not infrequently, Fiaschetti breaks the law to weave his network of informants, and he made his Machiavelli's well-known quotes about the end and the means in order to justify his actions to his readers. In the 1930s, New York Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia entrusted him with the post of Deputy Commissioner to counter the racketing of city markets. In 1938, the office closed. Fiaschetti returned to carrying out his activity in his personal detective agency. He also participated in US Army training courses for World War II and went around the United States of America to lecture. On November the 15th, 1936, he was struck by another tragedy. His only daughter, Anna, died prematurely at the age of 25 after a long illness. His fame, not consecrated by violent death as for Petrosino, gradually faded. Nothing is known about him except the date and place of his death, which took place on July the 29th, 1960, in a Brooklyn hospital.